Hello, darlings. You've all heard of Marilyn Monroe. Some of you know Bridget Bardot. Well, now it's time for the Cognac show. I said cognac, ooh, ooh. I said cognac, ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm your bubbly blonde, fabulously dressed to
shut it up, I'll give it to you, no interruption. And you're home, oh, on the phone, all alone, I'll give it to you, no interruption. In your house, oh, on the couch, name the time and the place and the function.
I'm Cognac Wellerlane, and we're here at Carlyle on the Green in Farmingdale, Long Island. And I am here with Honoree Dr. Bernardini, and he's going to talk to us about the Alzheimer's Foundation and why this award means so much to him. Now, tell my audience, you must be thrilled. You must be so thankful and thrilled that you're being honored tonight. What does this award mean to you?
Well, I'm very thrilled and honored and humbled at the award. Is great. I think it really symbolizes the focus on Alzheimer's disease, and I think with this gala, I think that it's such an important topic and such a devastating disease that the more we can shed light. Shed light and also raise some funds to help in the research and further development of treatment.
Now, tell my audience, most people know what Alzheimer's disease is, but tell my audience really, what is this disease all about?
Yeah, it's a very strange disease, actually. People lose their memory, they lose language, they lose the ability to function and process thoughts to get by day by day. And it's all due to some chemical abnormality with buildup of abnormal proteins in the brain. Not quite understood, but we do have some treatments out there that are available. But it can be quite devastating, sort of lose your personality.
Many years ago, when I first started doing this, I interviewed Rita Hayworth's daughter, Princess Yasmin Aga Khan,
right.
And she told me such horrible stories about her mother, how devastating it was to her.
Right.
And she told me a story that her mother was like only 50 years old and was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
And she told me that she brought her to a doctor in New York City, and her mother was standing in front of the mirror in the hotel room and looked at her daughter through the reflection of the mirror and said to her, "And who are you?"
Yeah.
And I said to Princess Yasmin Aga Khan, "You must have been devastated when your mother said that to you." And she says, "Oh, it was horrible."
Sure. Yeah, what happens to caregivers is that the spouse or family member, mother, father, that has the disease, they develop where they don't recognize family members.
But they can remember things from like 20 years ago, but not what happened 10 minutes ago.
They can. It's sort of...
Why is that?
Well, from a neurology standpoint, it's called hardwired memory. So you remember things that you happened a long time ago. They're really in your memory banks, but more recent things that haven't been in there very long are the first things to go. So, yeah, it's devastating. I mean, there are so many stories about family members don't recognize other family members at the end of disease, and it's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, but people die from this.
They do.
Why do people die from this? I mean, it's one thing to lose your memory, but why do you die from it?
It now sounds simple, but you need your brain to function, and if enough of the brain is injured or affected by Alzheimer's, it can't carry on the bodily functions that a normal brain would. So that's what happens. People get pneumonias and they get sick and infections, and they just can't fight it because the brain's not operating correctly.
So I never really understood that, but now that you are here to inform me, thank you for letting me know that, because I could never understand, why do people die from Alzheimer's? Sure. Now I understand why they die.
Right.
So this is really a dreadful disease.
It really is.
Since I spoke to Princess Yasmin Aga Khan, which was maybe, 6 or 7 years ago, I'm sure many things have changed for the foundation, and you have had a lot of progress. Can you tell my audience what you're working on now to combat this illness, to maybe even cure it?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll talk about a lot of this tonight in my short 6-minute speech, but there's great ways to image the brain to make the diagnosis of Alzheimer's even before you get to the end stages. And I think that there's medications that are now being used to try to help memory and boost memory. And then, very exciting, there's some new medications right on the horizon that may in fact reverse or even arrest the disease and make people get better. So we have ways to diagnose early, and I'm very confident and very optimistic that within the next year or two there's going to be a major breakthrough in some of these medications that will have an impact on this devastating disease.
Well, I hope that's really true, and I hope that we will cure this disease. Can you tell my audience where we could go to find out more information about Alzheimer's?
Sure. I think locally, the function is Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation, and it's www.lif.org. I think you can also go online and look up the American Association of Alzheimer's Foundation, American Alzheimer's Foundation. There's a couple of websites that are quite excellent, but I would go to the lif.org website first.
Thank you, Doctor, so much.
Sure. Anytime.
Don't go away yet. We'll be back in a moment, darlings. More interviews coming up right here at Carlyle on the Green, and it's all to benefit Alzheimer's. Pink champagne kisses.
I'd like to introduce the Executive Director of the Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation. Please give a nice round of applause to Tori Cohen.
Hi, I'm Tori Cohen, the Executive Director of the Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation. I want to welcome and thank you all for coming to support our first annual Making Memories Cocktail and Casino event. I would also like to recognize the board members with us this evening. I can't see where everyone is, but our board chairman, Thomas Klein, Paul Salerno, and Jennifer Kona. Now, I would like to ask each of you something personal. With a show of hands, how many of you have been touched by Alzheimer's disease? The response does not surprise me. Did you know that over 50,000 people on Long Island have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease? In fact, every 66 seconds, someone's diagnosed. Those numbers are not only expected to grow with the aging population, but in fact, it's affecting people as young as 30.
And now I'd like to introduce our first honoree. LIAF is proud to recognize Dr. Gary Bernardini, recipient of the Outstanding Physician Award. Before he comes up, I'm going to tell you a few things about him. Dr. Gary Bernardini, professor of neurology and chairman of the Department of Neurology of New York Presbyterian, Queens, is also the vice chair of the Department of Neurology at Weill Cornell Medical Center. Dr. Bernardini received his medical degree from the University of Texas at Southwestern Medical Center, where he also earned his PhD in neurophysiology. He completed his fellowship in neurological critical care at the Neurological Institute of New York and completed his residency in neurology at New York Presbyterian Hospital. He became professor of neurology and held the Edith M. Hellman Chair in Cerebrovascular Disease and was the director of stroke and neurological critical care at Albany Medical Center from January 2000 until December 2014. Subsequently, Dr. Bernardini became chairman of neurology at New York Presbyterian Queens in January of 2015, where he is today. Dr. Bernardini has served as principal investigator in several clinical research studies. He has been published in numerous clinical journals and has presented more than 65 lectures. Dr. Bernardini remains dedicated to the long-term management and care of neurocritical care patients. His work is an inspiration to others in this constantly evolving field. Please help me welcome Dr. Bernardini.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. And I want to thank, it's quite an honor to receive this award, the Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation. And I'd like to thank them for honoring me with this award again. And I'd also like to thank colleagues and friends who've come to see me from New York Presbyterian Queens. And a special thanks to my wife, Kathleen, who came up from Albany, down from Albany, to be here with me today. And everybody that's here present. I think it's such an important gala and cause that we're looking at. I know you heard a background a little bit about the Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation. Again, they began in Port Washington in 1988. What they do special is they provide excellent services from resources to programs to support through all stages of the disease. A lot of societies don't provide the care from the preclinical stage to the very end of Alzheimer's, but the LIAF does provide that. And it does serve people from Long Island and Queens County as well. Alzheimer's disease is a common form of dementia, and it's epidemic. It is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. 1 in 3 seniors die from Alzheimer's disease or other dementias. It kills more than breast and prostate cancer combined. Another staggering statistic is in 2015, over 15 million caregivers provided over 18.1 billion hours of care for that year. The annual cost in the U.S. is an astounding $236 billion. This is a devastating disease. Most of us, as we show of hands in just a few minutes ago, have been affected by friends, loved ones, or even a spouse with Alzheimer's disease. Even the most famous don't go unaffected. An example is singer Glenn Campbell. He was a very prolific studio musician in the 60s and 70s and played guitar and bass on a lot of the hits that you might have heard of, and for some of you music aficionados, played the guitar and bass on the Beach Boys' iconic album Pet Sounds. He is 79 years old now. He has recorded over 70 albums. He's sold over 45 million records worldwide and had 29 top 10 hits on the Billboard charts. He was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 2012. He is now in the late stages of disease. He is nonverbal and no longer knows what a guitar is for. Personally, my uncle had primary progressive aphasia. This is a form of Alzheimer's with significant language impairment, robbing him and us of his fun-loving personality in life. It was frightening. It's a frightening disease. I watched him deteriorate when I was young, about 17 years old, a few years ago, but not without being significantly impressed by this strange disease. Perhaps it had an influence on myself going into neurology. And now as a neurologist, I see many patients with all stages of Alzheimer's disease. How does Alzheimer's happen? The disease basically results from deposition of abnormal proteins in the brain. A-beta-42 amyloid protein leads to tangle formation, and the development of neurofibrillary plaques are caused by a tau protein. These proteins interrupt the normal pathways inside the brain. It is not well understood why this happens or why it affects certain people. There is a genetic component, but it's not a major percentage of most people. But the pathology has been worked out. The signs and symptoms of the disease, changes in memory, thinking, judgment, language, problem solving, personality, even movement can all be seen. There's essentially 5 stages of Alzheimer's. There's a preclinical stage where you may not even know you have the disease. The next stage is called mild cognitive impairment, or MCI, as you may see this as the initials, which involves some difficulty performing complex tasks, but families may think, well, maybe you're just getting a little bit old, or you had a bad day, or you're tired, or something like that. So this may not be the stage where it's picked up. And then next is the mild, then moderate, and the severe stages. Most of the time, Alzheimer's is diagnosed in the mild stage when it becomes very clear to family and doctors that a person is having trouble with memory and the thinking, and is impacting significantly on the quality of their life. There are significant advances in ways to diagnose the disease that have helped define those who have true Alzheimer's disease. Oftentimes I've sent a patient that has memory problems. They may be in their 80s, and a lot of people may say, well, it's an aging process, but a goal as a neurologist and some people are memory disorder specialists is to determine, is that the natural process of aging, or is there another process going on at the same time for a cause that will make a difference? Thank you.
Welcome back, darlings. I'm Cognac Wellerlane, and we are here at the Carlyle on the Green in Farmingdale, Long Island, and it's all about the Alzheimer's disease. And I'm speaking to a wonderful philanthropist. His name is Mr. Peter Klein, and he is the president of the Friedlander Family Foundation. Now, you have done so much for this organization, for Alzheimer's, and for your own organization. How did you get involved in doing all this philanthropic work?
It's an interesting story. Thank you for noticing that, and thank you for inviting me here today. I am a simple legacy agent of a wonderful woman. That woman was Claire Friedlander. She was a client of mine. I'm a wealth manager at HighTower Advisors, and I served Claire and her financial interests for 2 decades. Towards the end of her life, she came to me and said, I need your help. I need your help giving this money away. And so I sat next to her for countless meetings with different organizations, learning what she was interested in. And little did I realize that she was grooming me to be her legacy agent, to help her make her legacy. And I am...
Was she suffering from Alzheimer's?
Oh, she was not. She was helping. She was a business person, yeah. And she came to me and she said, you're the right. You could help me do this, make the meetings, and introduce different people to the program, to her gift, her meetings that she wanted to take. And I simply sat by, and I thought I was just doing my job as a financial advisor to my client. And little did I realize that she was indeed grooming me to be her legacy agent. And today, when she passed, I learned that I was to serve in that capacity. A wonderful privilege, but a weighty responsibility.
I'm sure, I'm sure. So now tonight's a very important night for you because you're being honored.
Yeah, I am grateful to being honored.
How does that feel? You must be thrilled.
I am thrilled. Thank you very much. I learned about this organization through a colleague of mine, and we did our research on the organization. It seems to be a phenomenal organization, and I'm happy to support them any way we can. The foundation is happy to do so.
Yeah, and there's so many people that are stricken with Alzheimer's disease, and families, what they go through with the family members and friends even. It's a dreadful disease. It's awful. I mean, I was telling Dr. Bernardini that I interviewed Princess Yasmin Khan, Yaga Aga Khan. I don't know if you know who that is.
No, I do not.
That's Rita Hayworth's daughter.
Oh, I see.
And of course, Rita Hayworth died from Alzheimer's disease.
I did not realize that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I personally have a story. My grandfather said he passed away from Alzheimer's disease, and it's just a trouble to see such a learned man.
It's so devastating, right?
Awful.
I mean, in their prime, these people were wonderful people, and they did so much, and just for them to wither away like that, they really need to come up with a cure.
And organizations like this help in many different ways. They help with treatment. They help with the family members who are helping their patients, their family members go through this. And of course, they help fund research. It's so important today.
It certainly is. Now, I would like you to tell my audience about your organization. Exactly what do you present to people that are in need?
Okay, so the Claire Friedlander Foundation provides grants to nonprofit organizations that meet a strict criteria that we look for in the board. We're looking for organizations where we could move the proverbial needle, looking for organizations that are mindful of expenses, but not too mindful, in the sense that they need to continue to grow and to grow their footprint of people that they're helping. An eclectic spectrum, much like Mrs. Friedlander. We grant to organizations in healthcare like this one. We grant to organizations in the environment like water safety and water conservation. We've done a lot of work with the Holocaust Tolerance Center in Glen Cove and other tolerance organizations.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so we have a very wide spectrum of giving. We're very proud of the work we do. We call our grantees, we invest in them. We want to help them grow.
Fabulous. Can you tell my audience where you could go to find out more information? What is your website?
It's the cffamilyfoundation.org. We do not take unsolicited grant applications, but we're always interested in finding interesting organizations to support.
That's wonderful, and I want to thank you very much for
Cognac.
taking the time to talk to us. Congratulations. Don't go away yet. We'll be back in a moment, darlings. More interview coming up right here at Cognac's Corner. Pink Champagne Kisses.
Klein and Tori Cohen and her top-notch staff and folks that are so dedicated, they're so involved in this organization. It really warms our hearts to see that kind of dedication for a disease that affects so many. Opportunity to get things that you need to get done that you can't get done normally. I think that's so important. So again, thank you very much. On behalf of the Claire Friedlander Family Foundation, I'm honored to support the organization. Thank you very much.
Tell my audience how you became involved with this organization.
I've worked with not-for-profits my entire career. I started out in fundraising as Director of Development for the American Heart Association, and 7 years ago I started my own company, Hillary Needle Events, and I do not-for-profit and corporate events. And the Alzheimer's Foundation approached me back in the winter saying that they'd had a gala that was sort of struggling over the years, and they really needed to change things up and shake them up and bring some new life to the organization. So we created this Making Memories cocktail and casino event, and it's our first annual event, and it really exploded.
First annual event, wow.
It's doing so well, and we have so many new people who are learning about what the Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation is doing. They strictly to do programs for Alzheimer's patients at all levels in their care, as well as respite programs for their caregivers to give the people at home who take care of them day in and day out a little bit of a break.
Such a dreadful disease, isn't it?
It's a wonderful, wonderful organization, and if you happen to go to their office, you see the programs that they're doing with these patients. They have them singing and dancing and doing the brain fitness exercises and the memory fitness exercises, and
To stimulate, I think, the brain so that it doesn't get worse.
Exactly. And Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation is dedicated, and that's their mission, is to helping these patients and their caregivers. So it's
Do you have a family member or a friend or anyone?
everyone does. I don't think there's any person you would speak to that hasn't been touched by Alzheimer's disease. And we're raising money tonight, and we've got our casino going and a fabulous, robust silent auction and a raffle. And everybody's here enjoying themselves.
And I'm here to bring awareness and to get people to support this wonderful organization. Tell my audience, where can we go to support? Where can we go to contribute? And where can we go to volunteer?
Well, the Long Island Alzheimer's Foundation, it's www.liaf.org. And you can like them on Facebook, follow them on Twitter, check in with them on their website, and they've got a lot of great things coming up in the future.
Hillary, you're gorgeous. Thank you.
Thank you, Cognac.
Don't go away yet. We'll be back in a moment, darlings. More interviews coming up. Keep watching. Big champagne kisses.
Hello, darlings. You've all heard of Marilyn Monroe. Some of you know Bridget Bardot. Well, now it's time for the Cognac show. I said cognac, ooh, ooh. I said cognac, ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm your bubbly blonde, fabulously dressed to impress. One of a kind girl. It's been a Crybaby Productions, darlings.